Let me stop recording.
We have inviting for open for public comment. Hopefully anybody in the chat or maybe in one's public comment.
No, I'm with you.
So, number 5 is an action item. So I was gonna go to number 6, the presentation, then we get a quorum, if we get a quorum.
Yeah. That sounds great.
So, we're looking for a presentation of the draft Richmond Parkway transportation plan. Anybody?
Hi. Think they're trying to figure out some computer.
I think they can use it.
Right, but.
Oh, you're.
You just might want to. I can share my movie really on there.
Should law enforcement go first?
Know which way to talk.
Yeah, I'll have to face the sky one. Capital to S, the word silver, and then number 1. I think it's okay if she's able to share it. Yeah, thank you though. Okay. Want to start us off?
Sure. It's hard to know which direction to face here. My name is Leah Greenblatt. I'm the Transportation Planning Manager at the West Contra Costa Transportation Advisory Committee. And we applied we're a government agency that does transportation planning work in West Contra Costa County. And we partnered with the city of Richmond and Contra Costa County to apply for funds from Caltrans to develop a transportation plan for the Richmond Parkway. And we're here tonight. This is our second check-in with the group. Last time we were here collecting comments and getting feedback. And I'll introduce Karina Schneider, who's our consultant and the project manager for this effort. She's going to go through a presentation where we're going to just do a check-in to make sure that we heard what we thought we heard at the last meeting, and then explain where we'll go from here.
The next slide. Want to give a little bit of overview of the project team?
Sure. So as I mentioned, Caltrans is the funding agency, and we're known as WCTAC. That's our acronym name. We're the lead for this planning effort. And as I mentioned, the city of Richmond and Contra Costa County are partners on the project. We have staff that participate in regular meetings as we move ahead. And then we've got multiple ways of getting input for this plan development process. As I mentioned, we have our consultant team, which is Fair and Peers, and the project manager is Karina. We have a technical advisory committee that's made up of staff from multiple agencies, not just the city of Richmond or Contra Costa. We have the wastewater district. We have the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, Bay Trail. It's a long list, but pretty much we've got everything covered, we think, there. And then for public input, we have we are doing outreach to communities we're doing several presentations to the different neighborhood councils along the parkway. And then we've done a series of pop-up events where we show up. We were at the Richmond Flea Market recently and collected a lot of information there. And we've got some other things that I think Karina will let you know about.
will.
Yeah. And then we also have a public advisory group, which is a more formal group with a lot of different organizations and represented both community organizations, professional organizations, and they meet regularly to check in that we're doing what we should be doing. So you want to go to the next slide? And I will hand this off
Great, thanks.
to
Leah.
Karina.
I'll take it away from here. All right, so we have a pretty brief agenda for today. I was gonna give a quick project recap, and then we'll spend most of our time talking about our draft strategies or kind of our initial set of ideas that we want to consider for our plan, and then we'll open up for discussion. Go to the next slide. Keep going. Thank you. So this slide just provides a summary of the key challenges that we heard during our first phase of engagement, as well as the things that came up through our existing conditions analysis. So at the top, we know heavy industrial and warehousing uses along the parkway generate a lot of truck traffic along the corridor that impact both public health and for communities that live along this roadway, and also impact the quality of the roadway pavement of much larger vehicles than personal vehicles. So that's a big challenge. Another one that we heard and also have observed firsthand is a lack of comfort and usability of the Bay Trail. Not a lot of shade, landscaping could use some upkeep, as well as signage and wayfinding. There are high rates of severe injury and fatal collisions. In the past 10 years or so, there have been over 20 deaths along the corridor, and about a handful of those have involved people walking or biking. It's a multi-jurisdictional corridor, as Leah mentioned. So it's both in the city of Richmond's jurisdiction and the counties. And so there's some complications in trying to find like the cohesive management of maintenance along the parkway. And then finally, there's heavy congestion, particularly in the commute periods during the weekday. And that's expected to worsen as more development occurs along the parkway. Go to the next slide. So just a recap on our schedule. We're about halfway through our project. We're currently in the phase 2 of engagement. So we heard all of the challenges, needs, concerns in phase 1 and have developed this list of draft strategies in response to that and want to get confirmation on that today. So in addition to these community kind of neighborhood council meetings that we're having throughout this month, we've also planning to do more pop-up kind of tabling events. So we went to the Richmond Flea Market a couple of weekends ago and are planning to attend the Earth Day event that's coming up at the end of the month. And also, if you'll be there, we're excited to see you there. We also have a survey that's live on this link. You can see on the slide here. You can also visit the project website to access that link. So if you have any additional information you want to provide to us or any additional feedback, you're more than welcome to leave that via the survey following this meeting. Our next steps after this, after we take all of your feedback, is to prioritize the solutions. So we want to end up with at least a top 10 list or so of solutions that we really want to prioritize funding for in the near term. And then we'll incorporate those into a draft version of the plan that we'll share out with the community in phase 3. And then we'll finalize the plan in the fall of this year. So we're getting close. We can go to the next slide. All right, let's dive into the draft strategies and keep going. So as I mentioned, these draft strategies were designed in response to existing conditions analysis and phase 1 engagement feedback. We've categorized them into 6 different categories: walking and biking, safety, driving and goods movement, maintenance, public health, and transit. We'll go to the next slide. Before we dive into the strategies, also wanted to share the goals of the plan. There are 6. So improve safety for all users, increase access to key destinations, improve health, advance placemaking, making the parkway and the Bay Trail a more attractive place to travel on, enhance travel time, reliability, and efficiency, and finally support feasible strategies, so ones we feel like we can find funding and staffing for to actually implement. So in order to kind of assess how well these strategies do against our goals, we conducted kind of a high level qualitative assessment. So for example, under the improved safety for all users category or goal, strategies that improve the comfort for people walking and biking, closed sidewalk apps, for example, scored well or did well under this particular goal. For improved health, any strategies that reduce GHG emissions or reduce cut through traffic through neighborhoods did well under that goal, et cetera. So I'm happy to report that all of the strategies I'm going to present today meet at least some of the goals. Others meet many or most goals, and you'll see this kind of graphic in the bottom right corner next to the draft strategies in the following slides. We can go to the next slide. Right, so our first category to present here today is safety, and I'll just go through each of the strategies, and I'm happy to pause after each category if there are questions or comments. There's quite a few strategies to get through. So the first is install safety improvements at intersections. Intersections are particularly important for safety because there are a lot of potential opportunities to crash into one another and many different conflict points at the intersection. And so these improvements could include lighting, it could include high visibility crosswalks, curb extensions that help shorten the crossing distance, for example. The second strategy here is to deploy an emergency vehicle preemption and transit priority system. That's a fancy way of saying at signalized intersections, we want to prioritize fire trucks and buses that are trying to go through that intersection. Number 3 is implement measures to reduce speeding and even lower the speed limit. The speed limit is 55 miles per hour in much of the corridor, so we could get that down to 45, for example. We could include things like speed feedback signs, to help reduce speeding, as well as kind of rumble strips on the outsides of lanes that help folks kind of keep them in line, or encourage drivers to stay in the lane. Number 4 is to install physical treatments to prevent misuse of the right turn lane. We heard during our first phase of engagement that folks tend to use or misuse this right only turn lane to kind of get around the queue at an intersection and get through the intersection. So one idea is to, on the receiving end or like the further end of the intersection, extend the curb so it's much harder to make that maneuver. And the 5th strategy here is to install technology to monitor high-risk intersections for things like speeding and red light running. I'll pause here. Any questions or comments in response to this category? We can definitely come back to this slide at the end of the presentation as well. If not, we can move to the next slide. Thank you. This next category is walking and biking. So the first strategy here is to upgrade on-street bikeways and connect sidewalk apps. So any segments along the parkway that are not aligned by the Bay Trail, putting in a protected bikeway is really you need a really high quality bikeway for this facility where cars are moving fast, as well as filling in those sidewalk gaps. And then upgrade the segments and apply spot improvements along the Bay Trail, as I mentioned earlier. Improving that landscaped buffer between the Bay Trail and cars on the street, as well as improving wayfinding signage that align with the Bay Trail design guidelines pictured in the top right here. Number 3 is to install a signalized crossing for Wildcat Creek Trail. So we heard during our first phase of engagement that the Wildcat Creek Trail undercrossing tends to flood a few times a year. And so this crossing would help the users of the trail kind of get over that. The flooding there. And number 4 is kind of an alternative to that solution, which is to construct a pedestrian bicycle overpass or a bridge for Wildcat Creek Trail users. And so the trade-off there is that number 4 would provide, better protection and separation from vehicles, but it would be a much more expensive endeavor than putting in an on-street signalized crossing for trail users. So I'm curious to hear if folks have, a specific preference there. And then number 5 is to test innovative bicycle and pedestrian detection at signalized intersections. This could include AI that would predict when a bicycle or pedestrian is going to be approaching the intersection and can keep the green light, green for longer to make sure that ped or bike goes all the way through. And then number 6 is to support Bridge City Rides and their ongoing electric bike lending library. So that is a program that they have in operation right now. Again, I can pause here. Are there any initial reactions to that? If no, we can keep. Yeah.
When signaling crossing for Walcott Trail,
Yeah.
is that like a, cause I know it's really long. What kind of long? I know that has a segment, is it, I think it would be like around the Richmond Park.
It would be crossing the Richmond Parkway, so it'd essentially be like a new intersection address for trail users. So it would look similar to this photo in the bottom right corner here. We're putting in a new signal to allow trail users to cross safely. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, I know,
yes,
I mean, I really would like to see that overpass.
okay,
But, you know, it's safer, maybe that, you know, we could use it a little bit more. In the global case, or the last time we did was to be that safe.
yeah.
So, I mean, it would be very helpful. And I, you know, the drive, I know the person doesn't go drive, I just suspect it, but let's get something else. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. We can always come back at the end. This next category is public health. We have a couple slides on public health. So the first strategy here is to update designated truck routes in the area to avoid residential areas to the extent feasible. I have a map of existing designated truck routes in the top right here. So the red lines are where trucks are encouraged and allowed to go. And then the purple areas that are shaded purple are industrial uses in the area. And so I've zoomed into North Richmond here. I'm sure you're all aware, North Richmond's pretty much surrounded by industrial uses. And so a potential next step could be for the community to work with the county to figure out which routes through North Richmond trucks should be able to use in order to get to this purple area here to the east of North Richmond, or which routes would be appropriate for trucks to use to get there. Number two is to incorporate trees and greening into all infrastructure projects that end up being implemented on the parkway to the extent feasible. Number three is to implement no truck idling or parking zones near sensitive land uses like homes or hospitals or schools. Last one here is to install sensors and cameras to enforce heavy vehicles that are exceeding the weight limit in neighborhoods. So that can kind of be implemented in conjunction with strategy number one or following number one. Once it's very clear which routes we want trucks to be taking. Next slide. All right, last set of public health ones here, condition new developments to accommodate electric truck access only. So that'll help reduce GHG emissions in the area. Similarly, add electric vehicle charging infrastructure along the corridor and provide education on different EV subsidy or incentive programs that exist. Next is improve effectiveness of the sound wall near the giant highway overpass that's north of North Richmond, and then install and maintain high quality air filtration systems in public facilities. Again, I'll pause here just in case folks have immediate questions or reactions. Okay, you can go ahead. All right, driving goods movement. Again, we have two slides on this one. So number 1, 3, and 4 are pretty similar in their aim. So I'm going to describe those three first. These strategies either convert or would add a carpool lane. So really encourage folks to carpool or use transit to get along the corridor, to travel along the corridor. So these are different locations, some on the Parkway, one on Castro Street. And number 2 is to add a new signal and connection at Pennsylvania Avenue in Iron Triangle. So today there's actually a dead end for Pennsylvania Avenue. So cars cannot get through. And so that leads to cars taking West Barrett Avenue up to get to their destinations, even if they're along Pennsylvania Avenue. So they end up driving through a neighborhood to get to their destination. And so the trade-off for opening that up is that there is an elementary school on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and Richmond Parkway. So we definitely want to make sure that we're putting in some safety improvements, crossing improvements in front of that elementary school to make sure it's safe enough for kids to be walking around in that area. Go to the next slide. All right, a few more here. Coordinate signals on the Parkway, particularly during the peak commute periods. Redesign the Richmond Parkway Castro Street merge. That could include some restriping. It's kind of a simpler solution. It could even involve metering at Richmond Parkway to really making sure that we're getting a smooth flow as that merge experience is happening. Number 7 is to install additional signage at blind turns. And the last one's to install wayfinding signage for key destinations and making sure that that's really visible for drivers, including lighting at night. We've heard that as additional feedback when we presented this strategy previously. All right, one more time for a pause. Any reactions? Okay. Go ahead, we have two more categories. Next is maintenance. We have one slide on this, to partner with advocacy groups like SOS Richmond to encourage people experiencing homelessness to keep paths and sidewalks clear. 2 and 3 are pretty similar. They're both to implement a cross-jurisdictional kind of maintenance program. One's focused on the parkway, the roadway maintenance of the parkway, pruning trees, et cetera. And the other one is for the Bay Trails, making sure that path is maintained. Number 4 is to upgrade traffic signal equipment to the latest technology. That includes putting in a new battery backup system, so when the power goes out, those traffic signals still work. Number 5, similarly, inventorying and signal detection assets and maintaining that equipment. And last one here is to reduce illegal dumping via fencing, perhaps even cameras if the community is interested in that. And provide education on proper waste disposals. That can include more signage on how to properly dispose of waste. We'll just go ahead to the next category. We have 2 more slides on the strategies here, and then we can pause for discussion. So the last one here is transit. The first strategy is to improve, bus efficiency near the Richmond Parkway Transit Center, which is right at the top of the Parkway corridor. Today, buses take that blue line, but they take it all the way past the Parkway and kind of loop around to get into the transit center. And so this proposed solution in a previous plan would make that connection much quicker, so they don't have to kind of do that loop and come back out. And so they end up just stopping right in front, above the Richmond Parkway Transit Center for folks to board and then get back onto the freeway. Number 2 is to upgrade bus stop features. So that includes seating, shelter, real-time signage when the bus is going to come. Number 3 is to study new transit service connecting the corridor area to Marin County. We did some kind of origin destination travel analysis during our existing conditions phase and found that there could be some demand there, but just requires some further study. Right now, there is one Golden Gate transit route, the 580, that connects the very bottom of our corridor across the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. So there could be opportunities to kind of better connect to that existing route, or study a new route altogether, and also figure out which operator is going to actually take on that route. Number 4 is to increase AC Transit bus frequencies. However, this comes with the caveat that it is subject to AC Transit's ongoing plan. Their realigned plan is what they're calling it. It's essentially their service plan for the next few years. And they're in the middle of that right now. So we'll see how we can align the two at the end of this plan, and how much of the bus frequency improvements can be directed towards this area. Go to the next slide. All right, this is the last one. Number 5 is to support continued operation expansion of Richmond Move's ongoing on-demand shuttle service. So that's a program that already exists. Just want to continue to provide funding to that program, make sure that that continues in the long term. Next is to improve walking and biking access to the transit center, making sure that pedestrian connections there are formalized and we have good bike access. Number 7 is to study park and ride opportunities, essentially opportunities to put in parking lots that folks can drive to at the southern end of the corridor to get on that 580 bus I mentioned earlier, across the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. And the last one here is to better publicize transit information. So that can include the Clipper Start discount program that is available now to folks, as well as making schedules more accessible. Can you go to the next slide? All right, and that's time for me to stop talking and open it up to all of you. Please let me know which of the strategies we've presented today would be a really high priority for you, one that we should be implementing as soon as possible, or even ones you think are low priority. That's good for us to know too. Or if there are any strategies you'd want to change or add, please let us know that as well. And I've relisted the categories here on the right in case you want us to flip back to a previous slide. We're happy to do that as well.
We need people room or the audience a chance first for the.
I don't see any hands up.
Hello, Tanya, this is Cynthia. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, I lost your volume. Oh, well, question is, you said, on Pennsylvania by Peary School, where there's comes to a dead end, Pennsylvania Avenue. And so the train tracks is there. What would you do? Put an underpass under the train tracks or what? To get to the parkway?
I think we're thinking location west of the train tracks. So right where where Pennsylvania Avenue.
Peary's?
They meet. It's just a dead end. There's no rail line there. So just east of the parkway is what we would open up.
Okay, I don't quite understand. And so the transit center you were speaking of, is that the one in Point Richmond? The one that goes to Marin?
The Richmond Parkway Transit Center is at the very north end of our corridor, around Hilltop area.
Okay, you're speaking of that one, okay. Okay, basically that's it, because I can hardly hear you.
Okay, yeah, if you have more questions, maybe leave them in the chat and we can try to follow up with you at another time if you're not able to hear me.
I would just like to say I appreciate your presentation today. Love the robust strategy goals. I think for me, the top three, if I was to prioritize, would be public health, safety, and walking and biking, right? Those I would definitely prioritize. And then in terms of the strategies, like there are some strategies that have the location that these things are happening at. It would probably be cool for me to see like all the locations of the strategy.
Yeah.
That these things are happening at, so that I can see how impactful it would be for the community of North.
Yeah, that's helpful feedback. And I'll say some of the ones that we didn't provide a specific location, it's because it's meant to be corridor wide, like the safety improvements at intersections. Let's look at all of them.
Right, it can
Yeah.
happen like anywhere.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So definitely want to make sure some of the things happen in.
Totally, understood. Great, thank you.
As for me, I can share that, the most important things for me will be like this with health, as you said, over here, and we are affected from all this traffic up
Yeah.
in here, and we have a lot of things going on. That one is safety, walking and biking, and the driving too, and the maintenance. The bus, the transit, I mean, we don't really have like that option,
Yeah,
and whatever we have, it's not really reliable. So, I mean, it would be nice if we have more, and on that would be a good strategy. Thank you.
were there any like specific strategies in those categories? You're like, oh, I really want to see that particular one. I think you both mentioned the public health as kind of one of your top. Maybe want to go back to that section of the green slides. Yeah, so we have a few here about greening as well as ones related to trucks. Are there any of the strategies here that really jump out to you?
I have a question about enforcing with the cameras and stuff,
Yeah.
and see you have the officer. Enforce from a video camera, or does that physically have to be there to observe? So if we have a video camera of a truck going through a non-truck route and speeding or, damaging, and all you have is a video camera to go by, can you enforce from that camera footage? Does the officer have to be there too?
Technically, there has been a light police with the infraction portion of it, yeah. There is a truck, but the car is damaged. We do not have the presence of that. Less.
So we're talking more about them coming through and tearing down the overhead wires and stuff like that, and possibly hitting, our personal property. So if, let's say they're not in a truck route, the off the truck route coming through the neighborhood, can that be enforced from camera footage? Or can that driver be cited from camera footage?
That's gonna be tough. I think we have a little more, let's go out to the company, usually some of the other companies come through. So we suggest we find, the issue would be as far as the identify was, that was because we didn't know that. But there's other ways,
And I'll just add, yeah, the idea with this particular strategy was, yeah, if trucks are on streets where they're not supposed to be, we could use a video camera to record the license plate, which could be connected to an employer, and like the employer could take on that fine. I guess we're thinking of that as
Right,
a
and that
potential
would be,
path.
that would probably, just the company. But
Yeah.
now they're, they get the fine. They're the ones now that are the money like, that are dollars to,
So there will be some capability to enforce from the
Yeah,
camera.
it would have to go, it would be a different route. Yes. We eventually, the idea would be to, the officer would definitely be rather than the second place to do it again. So the criminal point of view.
And then, so, one, I'm interested in the trucks, on non-truck routes, I'm interested in the signage. I'm also interested in the maintenance of the signage, because 5 years, 10 years, they fade, they trees, you guys said you're planting a lot of trees grow in front of the sign, they become kind of less visible. And, I like the strategy to control this. Those are 3 things that we've talked about for years in this committee: the trucks, the speeding, and the signage.
I would also say that the Wildcat Creek crossing, a lot of things, everybody knows that. Like,
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. We've seen some of the concepts. I guess, would your preference be the bridge versus the on-street crossing?
Yeah, my preference would be the overpass, yeah.
Okay. What's that?
And as far as there, I think that number 2 was, will be very helpful.
Number 3, okay. Great.
I want to ask you a little bit about the coordination between folks, like, say, for example, AC Transit, right, and the stations where people are waiting for buses.
Yeah.
You talked about things happening in real time, and that there's electronic signs when the next bus will be there, or how does that all work together? And how do you keep the coordination going when something is not there?
Yeah, great question. I'll say specifically on this project, we have a technical advisory committee that includes many different folks that would be involved in the implementation of these strategies, including AC Transit, including County Public Works, et cetera. And so, yeah, there'd have to be coordination amongst those groups moving forward past the life of this project. And there could be a new working group. Like I don't have that much insight into how regular coordination currently happens between those different entities. So I think that's something you could raise
So
in
there-
our next
that's
time
really,
meeting.
like,
Yeah.
regular meetings with that group, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of look how things are going, check on.
Yeah, that would, yeah, it'd be, I don't know if they're already doing that, but if they don't, like, I think we can raise that as, you know, a question that we receive during engagement and make sure that's considered during the implementation of these. I appreciate that.
And I guess one last thing I wanna bring up that we talked about was, like showing the existing route for trucks, you know, and then I think if possible, I think it might be beneficial to have, it doesn't have to be at the MAC meeting, but it could be a separate meeting, or it could be during the night, but just kind of like maybe reviewing that route, the existing route, and then kind of as a community thinking like, okay, you know, what is the route? And what do we recommend as a community? And then maybe talk a little bit, go more into the details of like, enforcement, who enforces, who, like, the different players, so I feel like there's a better understanding of like all the layers that kind of go into, you know, enforcing and implementing such a plan for that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've heard a very cropped, photo of it, but I definitely provide like a full and so that you can use in the next meeting. She agrees.
Okay, you don't see any other questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and control it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deputy Aaron Sakai, Sheriff's Office. This past month, actually, to start with, some statistics. So last month, the month of March, we had one reported assault with a deadly weapon, 2 auto burgs. We have 1 report of a grand theft from a vehicle, and then 2 armed robberies. Yes. So it's been interesting as far as just policing overall in the general area. It's been kind of, well, fortunate for the community, yes, very much so. It's been very uneventful, meaning that it's hit and miss. So sometimes when these events happen, they happen pretty quick, they happen, and then all of a sudden it's just quiet, which is good. It means that there's no criminal activity happening. As far as, obviously, all these statistics are based upon what was reported. And then obviously they're ongoing under investigation. As far as the carpet theft, we've seen a decrease, which is good. Definitely we don't want to impact the infrastructure of North Richmond for the telephone lines, but we are still getting calls for service with regards to the theft of copper lines at the AT&T. That's about it.
For the armed robberies, did the assailants and the victims know each other, were they feuded, or is it?
Oh, I don't know. That's just the number as far as on how that's associated. I didn't investigate the crime. I don't have an answer. Usually, I mean, based on my training experience, usually the person that knows when they're doing the armed robbery, they know that this person has whatever they're looking for, right? So it's kind of, there's more backstory. It's not just randomly, I'm gonna pick you, and I'm gonna pick you, right? I know this person has what I'm looking for, whatever it may be, money, jewelry, whatever assets they have on them, right, that they want to take. So usually it is more pinpointed.
And then armed in the home invasion, was it on the street? So how do we get more information about the armed robberies? And is it like, I mean, it's been a minute since I heard about armed robberies.
Yeah, it's been, as far as the details, I could get you more information as far as just where the location was and the date when it happened. Obviously this is a felony, so this is under investigation, so I can't disclose anything beyond that, but I can give you roughly day and time and just general information.
For a long time, you have been coming to tell us like there hasn't been enough sheriffs to work out here in this, part of North Richmond. Just wondering if there's any updates on more sheriffs working in this area.
As far as staffing goes,
Yeah.
yeah, so we have another training class. We currently have a training class out in the training program right now. Actually, I have a training right now, not with me currently, but there is a training class. We have 20 new basically deputies in training, on patrol training right now. They're currently in I would say what we call first week of phase 3. So there's 3 different phases, and then we'll call it a 1-week shadow phase, but they're in the first week of phase 3. So technically they should be coming off of training early part of May, and they will be dispatched about the county accordingly.
And when they hire and come out here, right, what in the training, are there any trainings around just the historical communities, right? Like what they're coming into? Are they just put out here to work?
So yeah, that's a great question. So when we do our training program, like a lot of training programs, is based upon on how to do the job as a police officer, not necessarily associate themselves with a particular community. It is the station house responsibility, as well as like myself, to enlighten and to train them as far as this is what you're walking into, this is the community, this is what their expectations are for when it comes to service. So
Yeah, that's great, it'll be great to know what the training will consist of, because in the past, we have had a lot of sheriffs that came out here and harassed community members before. So definitely wanted to know just a little bit more about, what the training is.
Any questions online and virtual?
I don't see any virtual.
Do you know how, will you be fully staffed in May? You know, you'll get enough people to fully staff.
yes and no, yes and no. So, you know, like in the greater scheme of things right across the nation and in California, the biggest problem is trying to get law enforcement, period. We have had, it's been a struggle for years now. The sheriff's office, our staffing goes up and down. So it's literally a roller coaster, right? We have people that have recently retired, quite a few, and other people will get promoted, which then opens up other spots. It's constantly filling holes. But yes, as of the end of or beginning part of May, as far as patrol goes, we should be fully staffed.
And the other question I had was, we used to get written reports about what data was. I don't know if Tommy gets it or not, but we used to get a little sheet that showed like what you just said, but it detailed.
Oh, did it? What?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, let me find out whether. Do you remember what they were looking like? I would love to see the
There
example.
weren't that many sheets. I mean, they had certain areas, and it was like it came from a Excel something or another.
Okay, let me.
That's what they used usually, and we would get them before the meeting.
Ah,
Yeah.
like an email.
Yeah,
Okay.
they would go to the supervisor's office.
Okay. Maybe you just show me what they were sending you.
I don't know if I've seen them, but I know Robert, because I remember coming to the meetings and seeing them
Yeah.
when I was a participant. So I can ask Robert, and then we can work on some of the, like that sheet and some of the follow-up questions that were asked.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Cynthia Jordan. They were more or less statistics, and it was like, you know, for the month, 3 months, 3 months. But what I wanted to ask about the theft of the copper wire, you said this had kind of decreased, but there was a big old article on the news a couple of days ago where there was a copper wire theft in Richmond, and it was like valued up in the double thousands of dollars. And I'm surprised you didn't mention that.
That's in the city of Richmond.
Yes, it was.
It was in the city of Richmond. So as far as their statistics go, I don't see it. So RPD, they would be able to answer that better than myself.
Yeah, we don't have anybody here from Richmond PD, but that would be very good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Still don't have anything.
No, I mean, running late. We do have one more presentation.
Okay, let's go with that. That's for those, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter, do you wanna share your screen?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to talk with you about our project. And I look forward to sharing it with you. I think my slides have already been given to the organizer, and I'll walk you through and introduce you to who Circle GX is. All right, there we go. we're working on a project that we're presenting to you all called the Planet Circle. And it's really about digitizing communities and bringing in future broadband security and housing security, food security and education security through technology. And I want to kind of give you a little bit of background of what we think we can do with our strategic partners that we've assembled to come into communities and help transform using a platform of digitization. Next slide. Thank you. And so we're a group of industry veterans, people that have been in the business for some time. I started the company out as one of 50 Dell founders, a part of the Dell Founders 50 Club in Austin. Michael Dell has a Dell Founders Club where he chooses 50 entrepreneurs that are taking on large projects. And our project, of course, is closing the digital divide. So we started working with them in 2014, looking at ways to bring the 5th generation network in and digitize communities and bring in low-cost infrastructure to address the problem of digital divide and affordability. We work with Qualcomm with a partnership to bring in technology. They also introduced us to several other people in their ecosystem, which included Geo Reliance, which is out of India, that built the largest low-cost infrastructure for digital divide in India. And we also are working with the Sustainable Development Goal donors, which are part of the United Nations objective to basically streamline 17 sustainable development goals in poor communities all across the world. And we were awarded from them $1.7 billion to roll out our plan in 10 key communities across the country. And they're really looking for us to expand that as we get more projects. And we're looking at Richmond as one of our projects. We're a majority minority-owned business, and we work with a lot of C-level advisory people who know the communications industry and infrastructures. Next slide. So these are the 17 sustainable goals that the United Nations is trying to hit their $1 trillion moonshot to get investments around to different communities. And when they seen what we were doing with broadband, they allowed us to also bring along with that 4 additional goals, which is to create jobs, bring in affordable housing, education and childcare, and smart city applications. So this money is designated, and what we want to come into the Richmond community is to come in and solve these problems where they may be, which means we have to align with you all to get information from you to find out what we need to do. Next slide. So our philosophy is about a planet circle because we believe in transformation. And the data proves itself. Every dollar invested in broadband infrastructure increases GDP by $4. And so we know that by bringing in digitization, we can affect public safety, telehealth. We can bring in remote education and secure it, environmental impact, food security. And these are the focuses that we want to bring in through digitization by bringing in projects that we're working with some of our key partners to deploy. Next slide. So what we care about is impact, and we want to take some of the money that we have from this philanthropic award, and we want to target 100 million in on the Richmond community, which would mean that our goal is to, serve a minimum of 20% of the households there, and be able to come in and lay down a digitization activity and capability of connectivity that's affordable. Also, be able to, support some housing projects that would provide better housing and affordable housing. And this is what we like to discuss and kind of show you in the next slide here how we go about doing some of these things. These are the areas where you think of where we can put this. We know that, the infrastructure to cover Richmond and to be able to provide high-speed internet access has a basic cost. We're thinking that depending on the participation, it could be from anywhere from 25 to 50 million. But then there's, a lot of money left in what we're contributing, and we're not afraid to go above it if the projects are out there, and we can work together and bring together the right teams to execute on them. Our whole objective is, closing the digital divide. Next slide. So we want to work with you. That's what this slide says. We want to work for self-reliance movement here. We believe that the more we empower a community and they can solve their own problems, we think communication is like a cooperative network that will allow us to reinvest back into the community by bringing these joint investments into the community. So our whole focus is taking the philanthropic award we have to foster self-reliance, allow communities to kind of gauge what it is they want to do. We come in and make the investment and then support it with technology. Next slide. These are our partners. GeoReliance, like I said, they raised about $20 billion in 2020. Qualcomm came in, put money in, Google put money in. All these companies came in and invested. There's a whole list of them. But basically, in the next slide, I'll show you what they're doing is what they call a super network. The next slide. Well, this is the management team, and I'll talk a little bit about these folks because I've brought together some of the most experienced group of people. We start with a veteran-led advisory board, which includes, the gentleman up top, which is Al Bisciotti, who was pretty much the chairman and CEO of Verizon. Before it became Verizon, it was 9X Bell Atlantic. Dr. Menon, who was the chief research officer at Dell when I started, that helped me push this along. Wilbur Crossley has been a mentor of mine for over 20 years. He was a former business unit CEO for AT&T's digital infrastructures. Martin Travers worked for a big company called Black & Veatch, where they built infrastructure all over the world. And Darius Anderson is local to your community. He's worked in the political scenes for some time. And then Ken Kill is the CTO for the National League of Cities and their ICT chairman. And the rest of these guys are guys that I've worked with over the 30 years I've been in the communications business and bring great value, especially our CFO, who was a former chief operating officer and chief financial officer for Samsung USA. Bob built a $9 billion business in North America and has quite an experience in helping us build our financial models. So these are just some very talented folks that we think that bringing some of this talent and leadership to bring on a local leadership for Richmond and support them in helping you all have digitization and help you with some of these basic 5 goals. Then next slide. This is a letter from Wilbur, who was their former AT&T CEO that's backing us. And he's putting his word out, thinking that, basically saying that our joint technology partners can really bring in, great infrastructure to what you guys are trying to do. Next slide. Next slide. So digital divide is our real focus, and digital equity is our goal, and inclusion is the work that we're doing. And so we like to just, make that clear. This is what we're trying to do. And we think that encompasses making sure that you have a lot of the other pieces as well, which would be, the housing, the food security, and all of that goes along with the reinvestments in the communities. And we believe when those things, that foundation is there, then you can do some of these great positive things that you'll see in the next slide. This is what drives it. This is an age-old problem where the dollar circulation has problems. And I came up, with this type of an idea of a dollar circulation And I seen that this company, Black Star Project, had done the research on it that shows that, you know, in Black communities, the dollar only circulates for about 6 hours, and then it leaves the community. In white communities, it's 17 days, Jewish community, 20 days, Asian community, 30 days. So the objective is to create a ecosystem through digitization where we can reward people to drive business locally. So the ideal is in this next generation, fifth generation, you're connecting all of the residents to the businesses in the community. Then you can also reward them when they do business in their local community. And the objective is to get those dollars going back and forth and in that circle and be able to measure and compensate people for doing that. And a part of that is free broadband, right? So this idea really was came up with a good friend of mine who was the actual technology founder for Amazon Web Services. And we were in Barcelona coming home from a Mobile World show where all of the executives and key people in the industry go every year for an industry trade show. And we were talking about the Caribbean islands as a way to get locals to be able to participate in some of the tourist business. And the model we built for them, I told them, you know, it would be great for communities in the United States where that's a big problem in the communities of the dollar circulation. So digitization is going to help that tremendously. Next slide. Right now, as far as digitization is concerned, the Affordable Connectivity Plan has been frozen by the FCC. It was a plan that's been put in place to subsidize those individuals who can't afford broadband to be able to get their payments made. We don't know whether Congress is going to extend the plan or refund the plan. And so, you know, ecosystems like I was talking about in the last slide are going to be a great part of building in the self-reliance that I was talking about by creating these digital ecosystems that even if the federal government doesn't come through, there will be other ways for people to get affordable broadband by creating it yourself and having the community participate within itself to make some of these things happen. The next slide. This is the pain. It's across all 50 states. You know, students without adequate connectivity. 1 in 4 students around the country. For states with largest divides, it's half of the students. And even over 400 and some odd thousand teachers can't, you know, teach because of lack of internet. We found that out here where I'm at in Dallas. Over 43,000 children were not connected during the pandemic. And it's a real problem here in Dallas because, you know, they're 2 years behind in their education, and some kids that needed extra assistance really wasn't able to be in classrooms for long periods of time. And the ripple effects from that have been devastating. Another pandemic would really make things really devastating. And so bringing in this security around the country by making these investments is going to be huge. And we're glad that we have the support of philanthropy to help us, you know, come in and make these investments. The next pane slide. In Richmond, 38.3%, according to my research, of families, adults, do not have high-speed broadband in their home. And so we know that every $1 of investment in broadband will add about $2 to the region's economic output. And what our research is showing that 38% do not meet the federal government's broadband minimum of 25 megabits per second. And so, you know, we can come in, we can open up these networks, we can provide the high-speed internet through the infrastructure investment, and we can turn these numbers around and create the ecosystems and economy that will make a community thrive. Next slide. This is across the United States. You see some of the same numbers, and of course, and with Black adults and Black communities across the country, and Latino countries, Latino communities as well. So the digital divide affects all communities. Next slide. So our go-to-market is basically, you know, you go to the next slide. The next slide. Thank you. So what we believe in is a, you know, community-focused broadband type solution, you know, willing to reinvest the profits that we make to champion the transformation in education, housing, and education. Next slide. And so this is the, you know, platform of our strategy, where we are basically launching a nationwide MVNO, and we can leverage both T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon networks. And by creating the mission with our brand announcement and, you know, offering service for people to come in, we intend to create a robust MVNO network. And that helps us to take that money and reinvest it in making sure we build strong digital infrastructure that has both 5G, Wi-Fi, and uses the community broadband radio spectrum offered by the federal government for free, which is the CBRS spectrum. And then we'll also put in some fiber where necessary. So usually you bring in the fiber to do the longitude, latitude, to do the main fairways, and then you can run wireless from those points, and you can cover with good speeds, with high speeds. Next slide. And the objective is to, you know, any device, any application, in any cloud network, you know. Next slide. Then we get into the technology in the next slide. And, you know, this is about harnessing the power of digitization and having, you know, the connectivity throughout the whole city. Next slide. Smart spaces, right? For smart shopping, you know, smart transportation, the earlier presentation that you all had, you know, being able to digitize all of that, communicate and connect it back to report centers, smart infrastructure, security, you know, like she was talking about the trucks driving through, you know, having the cameras out there. In the next slide, I'll show you, you know, some of the tools for that. The next slide. And these are some of the ways we put, and we, you know, digitize the community by putting up, you know, CBRS base stations on top of rooftops. They can be on towers as well. You have public safety cameras, kiosks, and street lighting. And some of the street lighting can be smart as well. It can also, some of these next generation lights can reduce the power consumption as well, wherein you get great benefits from the smart lighting technologies. Next. Helps reduce the crime too. So there's a lot of devices that can be connected, and you know, it's all streamlined across a CBRS LTE type 5G communication system that's very, very secure end to end and integrated into any existing IT network, which would be easy for policy management for city officials, and we can provide them a dashboard to manage all of this. Next slide. The next slide. This is kind of an example of a smart campus, you know, if you've got school campuses, if you've got college campuses, if you've got different areas in the city where you want to manage waste, you want to manage the smart building, you need the tools to do that, to do smart parking and smart lighting and surveillance. This is a college campus, HBCU, and it's kind of how we designed the network for them to make it safe for students. Next slide. And getting into that, you know, the type of technologies for, you know, when you see this smart university and MDUs as multiple dwelling units, like housing projects and things like that, and cities and city buildings. What we're doing is we're taking a technology that in San Diego, Qualcomm, our partner, has 40 buildings on its campus. And it's a very highly connected and very, information-driven type infrastructure where they have smart thermal alert solutions, where they can, through thermal imaging, all the way down to, managing to make sure people during the pandemic are not, too close to each other. So they can manage distancing, they can see altercations, they can measure the air to see if it has contaminants in the air. They're also monitoring, security and surveillance and facilities management, are the lights on? They shouldn't be on. Should we run people out to go empty trash cans that are not empty yet? Just things that are just going to be, when you digitize, save tons of money. And we take those savings and turn them into other opportunities that go to things that are mostly needed. And, there's always needs in cities to run more efficiently. The next slide. These are all the different types of lighting, and they all have different functions and operate on the grid. And they're connected and, to the IoT and smart devices where, you're always driving and monitoring and managing everything that's out there in your city. And, a lot of this can be done for the appropriate personnel to have this on their mobile phone so they can see what's going on. Next slide. This is the management for waste, smart waste baskets that are out there that, tell you when they need to be emptied. Next slide. These are kiosk information, solutions that are out there. They also have Wi-Fi to them, so anybody can get to them and get access to the internet. Next slide. And this is a command center that would be provided to the key people and personnel, where you have your digital twin, your waste management pieces, your outdoor collection on information and lights and shuttles, and smart security in different buildings and energy management in these buildings. And it's a total collaborative that can be customized based on what, the city is trying to streamline. The next slide. And so the next slide is, I'm going to just go into briefly a little bit of the funding. Our funding is coming from donor advised funds. They're called DAFs. Next slide. And, people donate that are very, very wealthy. And they maybe have a lot of cash, or they have a lot of stocks and bonds and what have you, and they're looking for tax breaks. And they make these contributions to get those tax breaks. And then we take them and put them to important causes. Next slide. And we're working with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And they are funding and really working with governments all across the world to help, raise this capital. And as you can see in the slide here, U.S. household net worth has surged in the last 3 years. And you have 37 trillion in wealth out there. And at the same time, the poverty rate has jumped by 12.2% because some of the inflation out there. And so people are having a tough time. So here's an opportunity to take money from that growth in household wealth. And these folks are trying to reinvest it back into the community. And, as long as your projects are targeted at these 17 sustainable development goals, they can be forgiven non-recourse loans that they're putting out for us to do that with. So it gives us a lot of latitude in coming in and making investments. Next slide. So that's it. Affordable broadband is the key to transformation, and we hope that we can have more discussions, get more in detail, and I'll be willing to answer any questions anyone might have.
Anybody in Zoom or here?
I don't see any raised hands.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I can go first. One, I just want to appreciate your presentation. I think this is one of the first presentations brought here with actual deliverables that are gonna come out of the community, right? So I really do appreciate that. I appreciate the vision and the plan. This smart campus was dope. Like, I'm really interested in this model. I have two questions and maybe two suggestions. My first question is, are there any, health risks with the equipment that, you all are using, like the lighting and the antennas and stuff like that?
Well, there's a lot of controversy where people talk about radio frequency, and I'm just here to tell you, after 31 years of being in the business, um, these frequencies are not new. Most of the fifth generation network is just, when they talk about 5G, the biggest change that you're seeing in the transformation is a reduction of the long type of frequencies that have to bust through walls and things like that. The CBRS spectrum is a high band spectrum, and it's a shorter length on how far it will go. The other thing is that this spectrum is not new, right? So the fifth generation is not new waves. These are old frequencies that have been used for years. The fifth generation, the CBRS spectrum, was used by the federal government, and it's usually mainly used by the Navy. And so we're using it based on a shared access with the federal government, which has been using it for the Navy on coastal properties like California, where the U.S. Navy gets priority access. And then the rest of it is shared with our companies like ourselves. And so we use a combination of this licensed spectrum, which is the CBRS community broadband spectrum. And we also use unlicensed spectrum that will allow us to get higher speeds. And then in some ways, we're actually using fiber. So we'll use fiber as a middle mile to get close as we can to communities. And then we'll do wireless the rest of the way, because it saves us time in getting high-speed broadband into the community. And we think it is a more effective way than, totally digging in the dirt to everyone's doorway. If we truly waited on a project like that, it would take a long amount of time. And if you have any extra time in your life and you want to get on YouTube and go look at what other communities have been going through with people that have made them big promises on fiber deployments and the delays that's happening, you'll have a lot of appreciation for probably what I'm saying. But I think that we will do fiber where it is needed. And we know that wireless is doing a great job. Our partners, Geo Reliance, they started deploying their network in India in October of 2016. And now they have over 450 million customers on their network, paying an average of $4.50 per month. Now you put that in contrast to AT&T's network, 100 million customers, and the average is somewhere around $73. So what we want is a truly low cost infrastructure network. And we think by partnering with them, because of the cost and the breadth and width of their investment, that we get better pricing for infrastructure. And by them working with us to allow us to take it into targeted communities that are underserved, we think that this will raise the bar in these communities to help us start the beginning for transformation.
Thank you for that. My next question is, I heard you say that this is going on in Texas, right? What's the turnover rate? Like, how long did it take y'all to get at least 50% of the community to switch their broadband?
Well, we have not implemented in Dallas yet. This is a new implementation. We just won this award in October. It has been a struggle raising capital to do infrastructure in underserved communities. Even the federal government broadband fund, the $65 billion broadband fund, 42 million of it is designated to go to BEAD funding, which that is primarily for the rural markets. Because they have a big problem in the rural markets, because once you get less than 20 households per square mile, the cost perspective, it has not been there, and the financial model has not been there for the big guys to go in and invest. So they need some subsidy to come in to help with that investment. And so that's what that money is really going to go for. There's still going to be a major digital divide problem. There's still going to be a major affordable problem. That's why we're happy that the Sustainable Development Goal money that's coming in from the United Nations, it will help us bring this capital into these communities where we can buy devices, we can reduce the cost for broadband infrastructure, and allow us to be able to do the transformation that we really want to do.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, and I love that you're working with the sustainable development, getting funding from them, because one of our goals, right, in our community is to create an equitable development metrics, right, for, developers coming to our community, so, that's great to know. My two suggestions would be, one is I didn't see like security, systems or something like that, like say you know, you have this campus in our Richmond, what is security gonna look like for, you know, for example, the kiosk, you might have kids drawing or something like that, you know, so security. And then another one is what specific needs, are you needing from the board, right? Is it support, right? Like what are the specific needs are you needing from, the board members?
Well, mainly cooperation, right? Once we have corporate arrangement, cooperation that you all would want us to come in and make the investment, and you know, we really sit down and get guidance from you. You know, where do you see the needs? Where do you see the important needs? You know, I'm not really new to Richmond. My first entrepreneurial endeavor was on 3rd and Filbert at a place called the Gospel Bird. We were on North Richmond, 3rd and Filbert in North Richmond, and we were on Cutting Boulevard in South Richmond. And we also had a place in East Oakland on East 14th and 54th. This is back in the 80s. And so I'm very intimately involved in some of the history and the challenges of the community. My father's church has had a church there in Richmond for several years, if not over 50 years. And so my son has grew up in that community. And so we have an interest from a personal reasons because we want to see the community grow. So I have to thank my son for pushing me towards, you know, reaching out, because he knew that there was what I was working on, and he knew that there was investments being made. And, you know, he was like, why don't you come to Richmond? And I was like, that's a great idea, son. Just get it set up, and you know, I'll meet with whoever I have to meet with and talk with to help with that.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
I think you asked a question about security, and I just want to say security is one of our major concerns, because we think in order to really control crime in these communities, you have to have digitization. We've watched this in several times. One of the biggest projects we worked on when we first deployed the 5th generation network was with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department. And what was going on in Jacksonville, they had a problem because Jacksonville is the largest city per square mile in the country. And in Jacksonville, they had several patrol officers that had problems with access to data. And so what we did was, with the 5th generation network, it allowed us to be able to connect to AT&T's network, Verizon's network, Sprint's network at the time, and T-Mobile. And we were able to drive tablets into these parole vehicles and make sure that they had access to data, and regardless of what the coverage was like. And we were able to build in artificial intelligence and AI to track those devices to know, hey, this is where the signals are strong. This is where law enforcement should have access, and they should get priority. And that was one of the first layers that we laid down for law enforcement, because we feel like it's important that they have the digital capability and access all the time. And then, of course, the cameras and the surveillance, that provides the security, and it provides the safety for campuses, for schools, gunshot detection, that's in some of the street lights to give early warning to police officers when things are going on. And we find that all of these things are going to be a part of what helps. Now, Dell had brought these folks in from a company that you may know that was born out of the Bay Area that was called Taser, which is now called Axum. And they have been leaders, and we work with them directly as a part of our assets to bring in security into smart cities. And they're the guys that make the cameras for the cops.
Okay, I'm gonna have to cut you off right now. I really appreciate the presentation. I think what we can do is, one thing, I think you probably need to understand what we're actually doing out here, and what's the actual, how you implement something like this, and something that we could kind of understand a little better, to get the concept, but making it more personal to North Richmond. And so I'm gonna ask Tanya to work with you and maybe Princess, and maybe we can get together and figure out some ways to really talk about it in real time and understand what we're doing and how it can be implemented, and you know, loans and grants and all this other stuff. We have to figure that out too, but it was a good introduction to what you talked about. I think we have some interest in it, but we have to, you know, go through the steps. And so, we'll be following up with you to get some more input as to how we can merge together and complement what we already do.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we have a form. And we're going to go back up to the top.
There
And
was one person I had a question.
I'm
I
sorry.
just want to honor the public comment.
Okay.
Do you want to ask your question? When you're in Boston? I would.
So you have a question for me?
Someone in the chat. said they
Yes. Can you hear me? Can I be here? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I just have one question. Any finished projects in any communities domestically? Did you guys complete any so we could kind of compare and contrast y'all finished work?
Well, yes. You know, we are a strategic partners with a company called Geo Reliance, and Geo Reliance, along with Google, Meta, and others, have built a network in India called the Super Network. We're leveraging that network to bring it to the United States and deploy it in the communities in this country. So what we're doing is they've already built the recipe. Now we're going to take what they've already done. That's the laboratory, and we're going to expand it into communities and underserved communities in the area. And this is the proof of concept, as you would say, that it's the largest network in the world in terms of devices on it, and operative. And I can say that they've done a great job, and of course, $20 billion ought to buy you a good network.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's my only question. No, but it'll be the first domestically. We'll be the first domestically, correct?
Richmond would not be the first. Actually, Dallas would be the first. And we will come into the first market that we will deploy will be Dallas, and that will start this summer. And so Dallas will be the first infrastructure that will go in. And then perhaps Houston would be following. It depends on how we work together and how soon we can come together, that we put teams together to deploy in the Bay Area. Now, we intend to be in the Bay Area anyway. It's one of our target markets. San Francisco, Oakland is one of our target markets. We are going to invest as a commercial business in the community itself. I thought it would be great to make a start of this investment in Richmond. So it's really up to you all, you know, where we get started. But we intend to make an investment in communities as just a commercial business. If we can do the public-private partnership and work with you all to do it, we're more than glad to do it. But as a business, we've got license and access from the federal government to operate across the country.
Thank you. That's all the questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was only one.
thank you. All right, we're gonna move on. I'm calling the meeting to officially order. And I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda and the minutes. And Tanya, I think the minutes are only good for that's the other ones look like they have a form, all right?
No, someone did. I put all the meeting minutes that we did.
Also, those three.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion now for, approval of the agenda and the 3 minutes of, looks like December, January, and February. Okay.
But yes, there is one. No. Apologize to everyone for my shortness. Yes,
So you're saying, so.
yes, so to all 3 minutes.
Is there a second? Okay, so you do the second, all in favor, I know you by saying aye. Opposed, abstention, carries. We're gonna move now to item number 5, and we have a presentation from the
Penske is my favorite.
We're happy with that.
Well, then I'm setting up too. I am part of this.
Once we get the presentation up, just by introduction, I'm Paul Hurley with Penske. This is Lucas Uban with, also with Penske, and Chavella Brown. We presented by video last month. So I kind of preference, we tried in these slides to address some of the questions that came up last time. Tried to fill in a little more detail, provide, you know, some answers to those questions. And, but, you know, because we've seen some of this is probably going to be repetitive and all that, I'm more than happy if it's something, you know, let me know if some of the things that like, you know, we're focusing on and showing, you know, are not really, you know, relevant to you. We don't want to over information you. We're hoping to, you know, to, like I said, to deal with mainly with a lot of the questions we had last time around certainly access and how the trucks are going to get there, that kind of thing. So, like I said, if, you know, slow me down if there's questions, or alternatively, speed me up if there's sections that you don't think you guys really need to focus on. This is for you. You know, I'm more than happy to be told to move along. It's, next slide. You know, a little bit of introduction about Penske. It is a closely held company. Roger Penske, the former race car driver, is the head. He is still, I believe, the primary owner, and there's some various ownership things, but he has the whole Penske group, which includes Penske Truck Leasing. Penske Truck Leasing is the piece that we're looking to place in the Richmond location. Next slide. But in addition to that, there's, like I said, this is kind of just a quick overview of Penske. They have, they own the Indianapolis 500. They own one of the largest automotive dealership networks in the country. There's all kinds of, you know, like I said, there's a whole bunch of different areas. Just trying to give you an idea of this, you know, the size and the background. The Penske Truck Leasing is a important part of it. But it is, like I said, it's quite a big. I believe that we have around 40,000 employees, and I think that the overall company, including everything you see there, has around 80,000. That's the last I heard. So that's just kind of a little bit about who we are. Next slide. The proposed location here, because I just want to kind of introduce, we did show this last time. This is 11 Par Boulevard, about 3 acres. It's got an existing building on it. This was the design we showed for striping for our truck parking. But just kind of to be clear, as we move through this, we are not proposing, we're not requesting approval for any building renovations or changes to the facility. The county was interested in, when we made our application for our land use permit, how we were going to park the trucks, parking for about 75 trucks, and that's the plan that we came up with. But other than that, we're not looking to make any major, any real changes at all. We're taking over an existing facility that was maintaining trucks and doing some recycling. But yeah, the zoning is light industry, so our, you know, according to the zoning regulations, the use that we're looking to do with truck maintenance is a acceptable use, though it is a little different than what was in there before. We go to the next slide, please. This is kind of a sort of a focus here. We wanted to show, because maybe it wasn't clear last time, the previous business in 11 Par was doing recycling,
receiving products, doing a lot of outside work, general. And they had trucks coming and going each day. I talked to the owner of the previous business, and it was 30 to 40 trucks per day that came and went. And he was also working on some of the trucks in his fleet, and I think some of his associated companies in that building. We are looking to do general maintenance of trucks, light repair of damaged trucks, service about 30 trucks a day, and parking on site for 75 vehicles. But we anticipate the same number of coming and goings, the trucks each day. We're in the neighborhoods of 40. That includes drop-offs and pickups. So, sort of want to emphasize this, that we are doing a very similar type of business to what was there before, and we are not anticipating any change to the traffic. Sorry, go ahead.
All the good you did.
No, that was good.
The average size of these trucks, the 24-footers, the 10-footers, 12-footers.
It's going to vary from class 8 down to like the 24 footers. Generally speaking, when the bigger trucks like that haul the trailers show up, they don't have the trailers on. It will just be the actual like cab of the truck, because that's what we maintain. There will be sometimes we're doing some repairs. We will be doing some repairs to those boxes, but the average is hard to say. It's sort of like I said, it's a wide range from the small yellow trucks that you're used to seeing for Penske up to like I said, full size tractors. But in general, the tractors, like I said, they usually come to our maintenance facilities without the trailer on them, because our focus is on maintaining the tractor. There will be, like I said, I think when we're doing some of the repairs, we'll have a few box.
Yeah, one thing I've heard throughout today, and I heard at the last meeting as well, is there's a concern of truck traffic in the community. And this might surprise you, but I actually think that by us occupying this property, we could bring less truck traffic, because a lot of the repairs we're doing are on our customers' sites. So, 40 truck trips per day relative to the traffic on the Richmond Parkway is really minimal. I don't have the exact statistic, but just in driving it, and from what I've seen, and again, I would say 70% of the customers we service out of Richmond, we actually go to their facility and maintain the trucks there. But some of our bigger customers, UPS, Harbor Distributing, these companies are still going to be there. They're still going to be needing trucks as their, a core part of their business. So whether it's us maintaining them or someone else, that the trucks are still going to be there. And by us being able to go on site and maintain these trucks, then that could reduce, the truck traffic, because it will be just our little service pickup going there and maintaining them.
If I may, are we ready?
I was thinking about something.
Oh, okay, so thank you for coming back. I'm pretty sure I shared the meeting with you all on Zoom. The questions that we had, if you could, this is just reiterating what went on at the meeting and some of the questions that were presented to you, that we needed a more clarification and answers of. And my question, after it was asked about the continuation of the trucks coming in and out, my thing is, once you start working on the automotive part, the transitions and, and what are you gonna do with all of the, the oils and the antifreezes and who's gonna pick it up? And, that was one thing that we thought about. What about the disposal, for the disposal part of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually have a slide dedicated to that.
We can jump ahead to it if you want. I mean, like I said, I want to work whatever you guys want to talk about.
We just had you all, were very good about having a romantic presentation, but we had some key points that we wanted you all to really answer. And as you go through this, a lot of those things will come to me,
Keep going now.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yep.
I would just like to say that the question Annie just asked the answer is in the minutes from last month. There's a company that's gonna come and pick up that waste.
Yeah. Yeah, so Penske partners with the National Hazardous Waste. We have several vendors, but the main one in Bay Area is Safety Clean. So they come to our site and these are all of our waste products here and they pick up all the products for us, recycle them if need be. But every associate from the technician level to the supervisor needs to go through hazardous waste training. And we are subject to regular inspections from Coupa and other environmental organizations. So it's, yeah, that's.
And the other question along with that, I remember we brought that up, the EV,
Yes, yep, yeah,
what are you doing with the EV?
yeah, another great question. And that's, so if you go,
Couple more down.
yeah, a couple more.
That's good.
Yeah, so here's the first one. So these are, all of the vehicles you see on the screen are Penske owned and operated zero emissions vehicles. If you go to the next slide. And this is all, this is kind of the expensive part of EVs right now. It's the EV charging. So Penske has invested, you know, I don't know the exact number, but millions of dollars in electric vehicle charging. And these are, all of these chargers you see here are in California, to my knowledge. And then go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, go. Oh yeah, go, two slides. A few slides back. Yeah, keep going back, keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah, one more back. Yeah, right here. Okay, so Penske is first of all, we're the largest, you know, private truck operator in Northern America. And we are a leader in the decarbonization movement. We're not waiting for regulations to come and tell us, hey, you need to reduce your emissions. We're being a leader in that space. And if you go to the next slide, this is proof that we're doing that. These are the awards, some of the awards and recognition we've received, you know, for those efforts.
I don't know how important it is to go through the presentation for folks online.
Yeah.
But I would just say plus on, the trucks not being able to drive through community. I noticed that in the presentation. Plus on the job, the 20 to 30 jobs that you'll be providing here.
Yep.
I would just say, I think we talked about it before, it's like, what is the benefits to, North Richmond, or do you have some benefits agreements with North Richmond? Had you had some before? Cause I'm thinking like, oh, 20, 30 jobs, that was, you know, good for our community, like, you know, to take advantage of those job openings, but wanted to know if that's a priority for y'all.
Yeah, yeah. Penske, and that's actually, if you go to the next slide, this talks just a little bit about, one more next slide. Yeah, right here. So yeah, the jobs is the big one, right? That's kind of our, I guess, one of our main selling points for coming here. But we do, you know, Penske as a whole really values the community as we talked about in that first slide. You know, we're not anymore, we're a big corporation, but we're still kind of ran like a small company because that's how we were started. And we're still owned by the same person who started the company. And that was in Reading, Pennsylvania. And it's amazing what we've done with the community there. And we've kind of took that now that we're so big and expanded that. All of the photos you see here are things that we've done in the Bay Area specifically, in the different communities we operate in. We you know, have a regular partnership we do with the Second Harvest Food Bank in San Jose. The top photo there is actually pretty relevant because we have Earth Day coming up. That's what we did last year in San Francisco. We did beach cleanup. We partnered with the Linda Hand Foundation to raise school supplies for, you know, underprivileged students. And we actually, you know, with this coming up, and one of our customers is Contra Costa Food Bank, and we're doing an event with them, coming up on, I think, April 9th. It's not in North Richmond. We couldn't find one in North Richmond, but it's in, Richmond proper. So we do, we do as much as we can to give back to the community, and, both our customers and our associates really appreciate that.
But you're located in North Richmond, so have you had any community benefits
Yeah.
before here?
Before, not that I can speak of now.
Well, we welcome that. I mean, that's one of the things about being in a community is, right, to understand, hey, how can we still connect at that level? I mean, I think this is a great time for us to be here and learn a little bit about some of those things that you're really pushing, you're trying to encourage to your community. And we always want to partner, right? And I think one thing to just kind of note that we got to think about is the trucks that we have in our fleets that we maintain. I mean, it's actually things that serve community all over, right? How you get food in your stores, how you get food in your, I mean, we actually maintain the vehicles that get them there, right? So I mean, we are really connected to the community, and people don't see it because our names aren't branded over these vehicles. So I mean, we really want to try to have people to understand it, that, hey, sometimes the food in the drive-through, that came through our trucks, that came through what we were able to provide, right? The goods that delivered to your door, that came from a UPS truck that we made sure was maintained and on the road and in a safe manner, right? So there's a lot of things that people don't see us up front, but we are really behind the scenes, moving things through the communities.
Yeah, that's really, and one of our, goals is to work with existing and new, folks, businesses, right, to develop community benefits agreements. And an example with that would be like, oh, we're providing community a third job. Let's say 5% of that, we're gonna apply your time as North Richmond residents, right? So that's kind of like an example of what a benefits agreement would look like, specifically with North Richmond.
We've looked at those kind of things before. I mean, we do have to be just a little careful that these have to be qualified mechanics and so it's can be difficult for us sometimes to, we'd have to kind of look at what's available in terms of people, because we sort of don't, and it was, if you go back a couple slides. Yeah, no, that's, yeah. No, and we'd be happy to, look at that and either you want to propose something or we can propose something, and, but like I said, we just need to be practical, that we don't, limit ourselves to a hiring group that doesn't have enough people, that can be a challenge.
Yeah, I have two questions. Can I see the map? Where is where this school is located? I think I saw that when you have,
There's one, yeah.
and did you have marked the school? I just wanted to know where.
Sorry, which?
At the school, I mean, I saw the slide before, or the before, the slide before, I think, yeah, because I see that any part, so it's just gonna make sure. That's what the school is?
Yeah, I mean, this is the residential area.
Yeah.
I think where we are now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're well up into the industrial. And it was something we were talking about, it came up a lot on the last meeting, was, the proximity to the reds. I mean, we are well away from there, and things like the truck access too, just kind of, it was very interesting listening to that presentation before about, I mean, if you all get cameras going and start cameraing these trucks, send that information to us. We can do something about that probably more quickly than the police can, because we want our clients and our customers and our employees to follow the Caltrans rules, to stay on those routes. And if they're not, we want to know about it, because we can take action pretty quickly on it. I mean, we told them not to do that. That's part of our agreement with our customers. And, that's that kind of thing. I mean, I think not just us, but the truck users up in that north area. I mean, that's something to look at, because they don't want to be bad members of the community. We don't want to be bad members of the community. And often it is, I was listening to, because we've seen this kind of problem before. I was listening to the police officer earlier on. It is very, I think you were mentioning it, it's very difficult for them to act on these things. They've got more important things to do. Video evidence is not great, but for us, we can say, hey, as we get repeat offenders, we can tell these customers that, you can't.
And I have another thing, one is that hours of operation are going to be like the same, like the hours of operation, same hours, so you will not have open the place? Operation of the hours,
Hours of operation from our,
business?
from our previous facility or, yeah. From the Hensley address? Yes, about the same, yeah.
What's our hours there? 6:30 to.
It's, yeah, 6:30 to 11 on paper, yeah.
I mean, what I'm just trying to, not the resident, I'm just trying to see,
Yeah.
trying to like minimize the trucks, I mean, the trucks are really coming in, instead of having more, like trying to keep it, to the minimum that you can do. It's already affected the area, and with all this, truck that we're having, I mean, it's like, we don't want it to get worse,
Yeah.
I mean, our health is really that I mean, it's very important, prices, we can decide, so, I mean, to me, it's very important, that part. I do want to add, just to add to that, because, Richmond is the 8617 community, and within that grant plan, Penske did meet with Supervisor Solia, and so his kind of feedback was that, Leticia is right, because the community is overburdened by pollution, there's a whole plan that's written up, and it says that, we don't want more businesses that are gonna like either bring more trucks or existing trucks, like we actually wanna reduce the amount of diesel trucks in North Richmond, and UPS agreed to like electrifying their fleet as well as Centerpoint and others, and so his recommendation was, he would be more supportive if they were committed to electrifying their fleet, if they were willing to work on EV trucks and kind of have a goal like UPS does, like in the next 5 years, they're gonna do 100% electrified vehicles and stuff like that, so kind of that trajectory, and also I think it is important, because you do have a location on Hensley, right?
We did,
You
no,
did.
we don't anymore, yeah.
This location replaced it.
Yeah.
You placed it.
Yeah.
And I think, the MAC is always, we meet every month, so I think coming and just giving updates and being a good neighbor, a good business neighbor is always like highly recommended, right? Like I think this is the first time I hear from Penske in a while and stuff like that, so just, you're always welcome to come and just say, hey, something changed, or we're keeping, or we're changing, and I think that is always helpful for the community to hear from the local businesses in that way,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I was gonna say that if a new company was coming in and proposed that wouldn't be something that fits with the plan that we already have. And there has to be some acknowledgement of why it's existing and being that type of thing, because of what have had the history in the community.
Well, I mean, you're encouraging, I think, some of the other trucking company or truck operators in North Richmond, and encouraging them and going through these community developments to move towards electric. I mean, quite a bit, several hundred of the trucks that we're going to maintain here are based in this area. And so as their fleets change, their fleets electrify through the initiatives that you're trying to do, our service fleet's going to naturally change with it. I mean, that's something
I understand what you're saying, but
it's difficult for us to move faster than they're moving, though. That's the problem.
Is that we're moving things right now, right? And so it's like, I'm just saying, if you came in with this and we was gonna have somebody that wasn't, already working with us, it'd be a lot harder to push for this group to say, yes, come on, let's do it, because of all the things that we put in place. The issue that came up was the mitigating factor of what you can propose, that not just by the industry changing, whether you do change, or what could you do? Maybe you can't do anything. I don't know what that looks like.
I mean, a large chunk of our fleets are owned by our customers. They're leased, not owned, sorry, we lease to their customers. And then a lot of the rentals we rent to our customers, and it's sort of, we're working to keep up with the California changes, and we're working to keep up with our customers' changes. But there is, that's sort of, like I said, that it's difficult for us to move faster than that, though. I mean,
so the other thing I was gonna ask you is that you've been in this community for how many years ago?
Well, we haven't been in the community the last 2 years, but prior to that, long time now, 20 years, something like
In North Richmond or
Is Hensley technically? North Richmond? Yeah, then yeah.
And so, I'm interested, the stuff that you've done in that area,
It was, yeah, Reading, Pennsylvania is where we started, yeah.
and really, where you did a lot of stuff in the community.
Yeah, the slide was, that was all from the Bay Area.
Yeah, but the impact that you had and what you did,
Yeah.
I just don't know that we've seen that same out here.
Yeah.
And so, I think that, one thing you might want to consider is what you be putting in place to benefit the community, wherever you haven't done stuff before, what you would bring to the table.
Yeah.
And then about the job opportunity, there's ways to get folks connected with skills. And if you would be interested in making some form of commitment for placement coming out of some programs, so I want you guys to be a little more innovative on what you could do and not what you probably don't have the people to do. How could we get the people to get trained to take some of these jobs?
The other thing, as we're talking about the travel of having the, different, trucks being serviced. One of the things was the overflow of people getting to you all, coming through the community instead of going around. So what type of route, and I don't know if you can hold me to the business too, but once you really get up and going, to have a designated travel route for anybody that's coming to your business in order to be served. So they won't be saying, well, I have to have my truck service and we're gonna take a shortcut. And when you start taking shortcuts, that's another impactment into the community. We need to have some type of something from you all to ensure that if they're gonna be coming to service on the outskirts of the unincorporated area on Park, not to make a cut through the community, but go around the parkway in order to be served.
Mhm.
This is one of the things that you was talking about, the impact.
Yeah.
But clearly we see that as the time go on, for servicing and people hear about you and your contractors say, oh, I gotta get my thing serviced, okay, we gotta get to you, and we're gonna cut through the community. That's what we don't want to happen.
I mean, yeah, we had there's a slide on this a bit ahead, but we encourage, beyond encourage, our customers are required to take the Caltrans routes. And I believe it's the Richmond Parkway and Par Boulevard, that we're on is one of the designated truck routes.
Okay.
Yeah, and looking at the location of certainly getting to our location, I think there was some problems. I was sent a study that was done, the North Richmond truck route study. That, that was a problem, I think, of customers trying to get to the businesses on the main street. And in the middle of the residential area. There would be no point in going through, for a truck going through that area to get to where we are.
So that's what they do, yeah, that's what I'm saying, shortcut, this is what I'm
The
saying.
shortcut, well, there isn't a short, we were looking at it and we had a couple of slides on the mapping on it. It's not something we've been aware that is a problem.
Oh, it happens,
But again, I think it was mainly focused on, but I think it was, like I said, it was the North Richmond truck study and it was an analysis done and we were sent a copy of it from our consultants. They were primarily the trucks, like I said, trying to get to some of the businesses and the commercial businesses in the more lower.
They might have been some. Go ahead.
We need to extend. It's.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, I entertain a motion to extend the meeting, for us to a half hour, we have another.
Second.
You second, Andy recommended, you second, all in favor, or say aye. Opposed, continue, please.
Well, just one other point on that. I don't know. I don't know for sure what type of, you know, companies are cutting or operators are cutting through neighborhoods. But I can, you know, say with relative certainty, it's not companies that we're doing business with. We primarily do business with, you know, big companies, UPS, Harbor Distributing, companies that have telematics in their trucks, so they see exactly the route the driver is going. And if they saw drivers going through a neighborhood, then that, you know, driver would be disciplined. I'm guessing it's more the, you know, owner operator trucks, you know, the person who owns the company and operates the truck. But just a theory.
Well, listen, you know, for FY, you know, to keep in mind, you know, as we go through this,
Yeah.
as we go through this building.
So, if I may ask again, what are you seeking from the board, support or approval of the plan?
Support of our presence in your.
Yeah, I mean-
Your community, that's what we're.
They have a permit application, and so they, you know, as part of the county planning process, it has to come to the MAC, and you have to give your recommendation, or you have to either pass me with kind of things to do to move you closer to making a decision.
So, I make a motion that we support with a addendum of adding a portion that's related to the benefits in Northridge, which would include what Don said about allowing or pipelining the training programs that have North Richmond residents in it to hire, to get involved with local community organizations, support local schools. If we could get that added, I mean.
What's the time frame on what your plan, just to add, you know, what time? I mean, I know it's a big, you know, you got a big site, right? And so building it all out or phasing it or.
We're not building anything. We're just taking over existing sites.
Use all the ground.
Yeah, just we're using what's there.
So you're not expanding.
No, there's no construction permit of any kind involved here. It's just a land use approval, I believe is the right term, right? Because it's, you know, we're changing the use. You know, as I pointed out earlier on, not a lot, but it's definitely a different use. It was a recycling firm before, and now it's a truck maintenance.
So I'm just wondering, we can do on the motion, but I'm thinking, you know, I know, but we don't have a community benefit. We don't have.
That's an important document that we need for the approval.
I guess another,
Things you do on y'all location is already in
Right.
We appreciate you coming here and presenting, right? But definitely, I would give for any, you know, thing that Kentucky is doing in our community without a benefits agreement, right? A community benefits agreement. Is that what you were saying, Danny?
That it has to have an addendum to add that, what support that they will submit to, but.
Go ahead.
Just
And I-
there, other businesses in the community right now that don't have to submit.
Hey, go ahead.
That at the meeting with Supervisor Joy, he did ask me to send them which I need to send it to you, the AB 617 policy. So I think he also made some recommendations to you all as well, and I haven't heard a response back based on those recommendations, so we could also just move this so that maybe they send us something, and then I can send it to you all to kind of review, and I can also send it also to Supervisor Joya, because at that meeting, he wasn't necessarily in favor of the plan as it stands now. He wanted to see kind of like if they could commit to EV, transitioning to EV, and what that timeline would be and stuff, so I think he also had some like requests, and it sounds like you have some requests, and you know, we do have a community college that has a local community college that does the auto motor mechanical class and stuff like that. They have a program there, and it's like less than like a mile away from the close by. So I feel like we could try to package something and see, and with also like, the recommendations of Supervisor Joya, because I think that would be powerful, the MAC and Supervisor Joya are working together on this, and it's not like, oh, the MAC says this and Supervisor Joya says this, and it's kind of like a.
It's easier for us too, to have, not to have multiple things going on.
Yeah.
One set of rules.
So if you could get something
To me, and then I can send it to you, and then I'll talk to Supervisor Joya, let him know all the, everything that was shared, right, because I hear some support, I support, but this needs to be put in place and stuff, so I would share with him, like, what I heard today, tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, we do recruit in colleges, and we have a recruiter that professionally goes out. We actually invite high school students or even technical students to come to our facilities and actually do a tour. We do a Q&A, we give them a speak into our business, because it's also allowing us to show our brand, because we do like career long, right? People to join our team. We do that, yeah. That's why what you're asking is, oh, I can do that, no problem. We have a recruiter that comes all the time to do that. So we can set that up, we can set commitments up. You have an annual, yeah, if you have an annual like picnic day that you have and you need support from our teams, we do that all the time. We provide trucks, right? So that you can load your equipment in. We show up, we can have a booth. So there's a lot of things we can do to help.
So do we want to postpone there is a motion on the floor, but there is a counter one, and it looks like our folks are amenable to coming back and give us something.
Right. Yeah, and we can also vote via email too,
Yeah, we could do that.
so that it's more expedited and you don't have to come
Right.
back. to
Yeah,
the
I
next-
know this is the second time.
like you did.
Right.
So,
I got a 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, wake up to get on the flights.
Okay.
But but no, I think that with respect to, Mr. Goya, I think I remember we discussed it. I was under the impression he was probably gonna come maybe with some specifics on that EV stuff.
I can share with you what UPS agreed to and like what other.
That'd be really helpful, because then we can
and
understand
their
how this is working.
benefits Package, they're a lot bigger and stuff, so it's like, it's really robust, but, just to kind of give you an example of what other businesses, CDAs have looked like, cause, we definitely use like Centerpoint as our kind of blueprint, that's like our latest kind of big business in the area and stuff, they're gonna be located like down the street from you and stuff, so I'll send you that, I'll send you the 8617. And then if the map wants to send me anything, I can include that as well, and then we'll kind of go back and forth, and then, I think we can vote via email just to like, be mindful of that,
Okay.
but that's up to you.
Understood. We'll pull all that together and get back to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
I have one question.
Okay. Yeah.
They say okay, they say like they say history repeats itself, and you guys been in the community before, correct?
They did it before,
We were at Hensley.
Correct.
yeah, they were in Hensley for like 20 years or something.
So, yeah, something, I don't know the exact number.
Okay, so with that said, since y'all been there for like 20 years, did y'all do any contributions with the community or any hiring y'all did in the past while y'all was here before?
Hiring, I don't have the exact statistics, but I'm sure we did. I wasn't in my role at the time, but we could look into some of that, see what we have for data, on that.
What about any contributions like trips to Verdi or any donations for any 503Cs in North Richmond?
Not that I can speak to.
And once again, y'all was here for 20 years before, correct?
Yeah, roughly.
Thank you. History repeats itself.
Not all the time.
Sonia, can you repeat to Aaron, because he probably missed it, what we just discussed, right now around the community benefits agreement with him. So maybe you can like repeat that to Aaron, refresh it.
real quick.
Yeah, Aaron, can you hear me?
No, it kind of, sort of, it's kind of hard to hear a little bit, but what you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, so they're gonna send us their proposal for community benefits and the MAC is gonna send kind of their wish list and I'm gonna check in with Supervisor Joya. And so the MAC didn't give them a recommendation or approval or denial until they review their community benefits package to see what's on there. And you can also send me things too. I know you live in the community and you were on the MAC before, so I know you have a vision.
Well, and we do have employees that are already currently employed with us that do live in Contra Costa. Right, I mean, the employees that we have actually do live in the community.
Yeah.
Right, we might not give you an example, like we just hired one, but there's already people that's with us that's from this community,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
About the historical data, unfortunately, like, I've only been with the company 2 years. Luke's new, we're all sort of, like, if we'd known this question was coming, we could have probably got some information, but
So, yeah.
Okay,
the three of us offhand don't know.
yeah, we'll follow.
I mean, you could put that with follow up.
And one more statement. I know, like FedEx. I work for FedEx right now, FedEx Express. Matter of fact, I got my CDL. And I know they have like entry level mechanics where they like teach guys from scratch to how to work on Kenworks, Volvos, and Freightliners all in one. I was asking, do you guys any kind of program y'all could create like such or something?
Yeah, and we, just so you know, we partner with an organization called American Diesel, where we do that exact same thing that you're referring to, where we take someone with zero technical knowledge and bring them up to what we call a Tech 3 level in 6 weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you. I know we need to move on. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys.
And now we're gonna move on to, Netafont.
Let's see if I can do it this way so people can see me, but I'm on the large room audio. And if we can, share the screen. We'll work around all the technologies here. My name is Todd Wright, and I'm assisting the Nanowall Company to prepare for their next phase of expansion. In December 22, a little over a year ago, we made a presentation before the MAC as part of our pre-application process. At that time, you had the recommendation that we proceed with our project. Now, at the end of last year, we made our formal application for our development plan approval. And as part of that, which is the next step in our expansion, and the next step of that is to come make the presentation to you again. The plan we're presenting tonight is essentially the same as we did a little over a year ago. After we went through that pre-application process, it looked like the plan we wanted to work with. And we appreciate the opportunity to discuss a plan with you tonight. We'll try to keep it fast and efficient because I know it's getting late. I'm here and Aman Nana, one of the co-founders, is also on the Zoom call with us. He can answer questions related to the workers and the jobs at the existing facility. Nanowall was started in Richmond in 2004 over on 50 West Ohio Avenue. In 2014, 10 years ago, they moved to 775 Brookside, which is the white building on the right-hand side of the screen that you see there. They purchased the vacant property next door, and in 2019, they built their first expansion, which is the red and gray that you see right here. The two buildings together total approximately 90,000 square feet. And the reason I mention that is because it'll provide context for the next phases of expansion. They currently have approximately 45 employees. And very importantly, they average 2 trucks a day. Just 2 trucks a day. I'm gonna put that in our sort of, only 2 trucks a day. Oh, yes, next slide, please. Next slide, there, right there. Okay, Nanowall. No, she's in the right place. I hit my button, I forgot to ask her to advance. Nanowall has 2 primary glass wall products that they make. One is a sliding glass door. They're big, they're commercial. This one you see on the left here is at the Cal Stadium. And the other one is a folding glass wall, which is what you see on the right there. The one on the upper right is Oracle Park, or whatever name it is, they changed it to. And the lower one is a residential type installation. Next slide. Nanowall's located on Brookside between Giant and Fred Jackson, to give you some context. Over there, up against, the creek is in the back of the side of the property. Next slide. Nanowall designs a wall system, glass wall system. Then they purchase the glass, the aluminum, the gaskets, and all the parts. And what they do besides design on Brookside is they assemble. So what you see here is a very clean assembly operation, which is what takes place there. And then the glass walls are shipped out all across the United States and Canada. Next slide. The Nanas purchased the next 5 acres of vacant land, as you can see here in the center of the photograph. Next slide. The proposal is really what involves planning for the next approximately 10 years of expansion, because the business has continued to expand. But the Nanas want to do it in stages. They don't want to expand too fast. They want to expand as they need it. So it'd be 3 phases. The first phase would be the closest one to the existing facility so they can run back and forth with material. Second phase would expand that building. And then the last phase would be a second building up towards Brookside Ave. So that's the plan. Next slide. This is a rendering. The architects have been hired. The entire design team has been hired. They're experienced in working in this area and working with Contra Costa County and dealing with the technical issues. So this is the architect's rendering of what this building would look like. Next slide. The key issues. This is why we're going to get the lightning round going. First, employment. Expect to expand from about 45 to 100. Nana's been operating in this location for 10 years. They have it's a fair amount of design and assembly work. So Aman can speak to how they attract employees to this location. Second, truck deliveries. 2 trucks a day. At build out, we'll have a total of average 4 trucks a day going in and out of the site. The truck routes, we're pretty well positioned with that limited number of trucks to head straight out to the Richmond Parkway. You know, you go, whether you're going north or south, you're gonna hit Fred Jackson, go 1 or 2 ways and then get out onto.
Now, full expansion.
There'll be 4 trucks a day at full expansion, 2 trucks a day. So we're going from about 90,000. We're going to add in 10 years, another 130,000 square feet. So we'll be about doubled in that range. And so I think we can control that very limited number of trucks that come in and out. This is not a logistics operation. Next slide. The schedule that we would look at is in 2024. This year, we complete the development plan process. We prepare our construction documents. And in next year, we plan to construct. It'll take about 12 months. And then in 26, we'd start occupying the first phase. And that's sort of the next slide. That's sort of the presentation. We try to keep it simple, we try to keep it organized, and we move forward in a stepwise fashion. And what we are requesting, we're here to answer any questions. And we are asking for your recommendation from the MAC on our development plan application. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
No, I got questions. I have one question and two concerns.
Yes.
My first question is, why are we going past the building height requirement and parking requirements that the city requires? Why are you going past that limit?
We are, I think your question about the traffic study and the number of cars, or our building height is, I think, within standard for the county. Yes.
40 feet, which in your thing is at 60, right?
No, I don't think it says 60. I think it's about 40.
58 foot, it says 58 foot, and what's required is 40, right? And you're going to 58 with the big buildings?
They gotta go down to what? It may be that they have to go down to what? They might go down 5 to 10 feet down, the base, and then go up.
But it won't go past.
Yeah, we'll stay within the county. I'm off the top of my head, I'm not sure quite where that is, but I could check that.
Okay, and then what my guess is that for the parking, right, it says like the 30% is the maximum allowed, and you're going to 65. I imagine that's for employees, not
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have, if you look at that site plan, and even if you drive by, you'll see, we have the truck parking right in the base up to it. You see one, maybe two trucks there if you drive by, so.
Okay, well, my only two concerns is this plant is located right next to agriculture, which is a farm, and then there's a nursery, like, historical nurseries there.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if the height of that building is going to affect what's growing on the farm, right? It's gonna be like shade or, things like that, so that's my first concern.
Okay.
And then my second concern is if it's located next to a creek, which is a natural space, the foundation is gonna be concrete. Would that, like sink into, cause it's right next to the creek, like, I'm gonna get this question.
Okay, let's do the following here. I'm trying to find which slide is gonna be easiest to talk from. If you go to the key issue slide, it would be the 9th slide. Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, blow it up a little bit more. In terms of casting shadow, the historic nurseries are the further green area to where the cursor is. Directly adjacent to us is first a row of eucalyptus trees. So we are going to remove the ones that are just
coming out.
We'll keep the oaks. But we are a good distance away from any potential agricultural. Next to it is a mix of small business auto people. So I don't see any shadow casting. Now on the creek, I have the advantage of being a civil engineer. I can speak to that with authority and having built a lot in these areas. We are set back from the creek itself. We are not in the 100-year storm plain, so we don't have the risks of flooding. We may place some soil on top of our soil, primarily not related to the creek, but related to the soil underneath the building as potentially being compressible. We may need to surcharge and compress that soil. It'll probably compress about 8 to 9 inches. And then we'll still build at our normal elevation. So those types of issues we've addressed, but we understand where the creek is, where the floodplain is as well, and we're not in.
Questions and concerns, and I'm pretty sure it's been going up all night. Our community has been in disagreement and what that looks like from, a lot of business, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think if we can turn, Amon, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, Amon can describe sort of the employee approach that Nana has taken in this location for the last 10 years.
I can hardly hear you.
Amon, can you walk us through the company's approach to hiring at the facility and how that connects to providing employment opportunity in the community?
Okay. Yeah, we've been in Richmond for 20 years roughly, and we have many long-time employees. Some have started with us, have been with us for 20 years. And we normally, when we hire, we do put ads in local areas, job centers and community colleges. So we try to, it's in our interest to try to get workers as close as possible to our facility to avoid any commute times. So right now we have a mix of employees from different areas. We have some from Richmond, a lot from Richmond, other areas of the East Bay, and also from Marin. So we have a mix of good workers from the area.
And so I think the program that they've had in place has been successful at attracting, because as any employer does, they're challenged to make sure that they can outreach to get employees in, and having them local is in their interest. So I think the proof of Nana is in what they've done for the last 20 years.
Oh, okay, well, one of the things, since we growing into this challenge of looking at having you all to come aboard, and as we see, it's for 2 years, from 24 to 26, before we get everything done. One of the things that is.
Hey, I gotta interrupt you. You have time again.
Again? Oh, yeah.
Can be extended for another 15 minutes?
I gotta go to my house.
I know, we just gotta, this conversation is on. Can I get a motion?
No more than additional 15 minutes.
Okay,
Is there a second?
and I second it, and then I'm gonna
Okay,
finish.
all in favor, say
And just real quickly, so when you come into the fold, one of the things to let the community know that you are coming into the scene, we have a lot of tabling, we have a lot of outreach. So you can keep that information as we come into your town, and have that information. So people be geared up to see if they want to be participating, to participate and become an employee.
Sure.
And have that training, they have a heads up.
Yeah.
What's going on, so going to the table. So that's all I want.
So along those lines, so you've been here for 20 years, have you contributed to any community-based organization as you've been here?
Amon, can you talk to different items you've done to contribute and promote in the Richmond community? North Richmond community.
Okay. Well, we have been a good, I guess, employer. We take care of our workers, and basically we've cleaned up the area around us. It's been a challenge, So we have tried to be a good neighbor, but I guess we also are based in Marin, so we do have our headquarters in Marin, and we have our factory in Richmond. And if there's anything more that you want us to do, we'll be glad to look into it.
Similar to the last.
Yeah.
We are really looking at some form of a community benefit package. You can incorporate what you already do, but there's a lot of things that are going on that are happening here that we need some form of support, maybe just volunteer stuff. I don't know. Whatever you feel that you committed that you can.
Yeah, I think we can elaborate what that is and articulate that in such a way. And then also solicit how we continue to connect into the community and make announcements. Because I think one of the biggest benefits we have is making sure that we can outreach as we expand our employment base. That's probably one of the biggest benefits to the community here. And it's a benefit to Nanawal as well, because they do want to hire close to where they work.
Right. We have a resource center here as well. And so as you expand, we like the opportunity to expand the opportunity for folks to
Okay.
do that. And any other thing that you can think of that you could do to support your community objectives. We have an outline of different organizations that are working in the community that you could definitely contribute to, but I want to give you the opportunity to think about what all that looks like and work with Tanya.
Right, and we can come back to the report to Tanya about how we can work with the community to increase those opportunities.
Also, I don't know if we're doing a vote right now, but I would have to I would basically not want to vote, because I would also want to know, because Urban Tilt is right there and it's a farm that has been, keep their big warehouses and things, away from where we're growing, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely would want to hear their feedback as well on this presentation, right? Because they're right next to y'all and y'all are neighbors and stuff like that. So I definitely would want to hear the farm's feedback on this application. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So we back in touch with Tanya. And
yeah.
We talked about it, and she can give you some examples of that.
Sure. Okay. And if Tanya, we can get information about who, for the farm, we can contact them as well and have a direct dialogue. Okay.
We don't need any Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. So we got a short period of time. We got. I know the best is last. We don't have a lot for the best, but let me just say, if you got to wait next time, that's fine. But let's start with the City of Richmond Community Service Department. I don't know if you're on Zoom or anybody here from there.
I see Jessica.
Yeah. Hey, hi, I'm wondering about, if any of these, businesses that are interested in setting up in North Richmond, can help with the camera situation. I guess maybe Annie knows what's going on with cameras, but I know all the illegal dumping and the unwanted truck traffic. Cameras are something we've talked about for a while. Anyway, I'll just throw that out there, but I'm with the North Richmond Mobile Tool Library, and we will be loaning out tools for Earth Day. And so if you're interested in borrowing any tools for any cleanup events in North Richmond, I'll go ahead and put my my email in the chat. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to Tony. How's it for you? You got it, Tony.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for making time to hear this. Just a couple updates. We're still working with our attorneys on preparing purchase and sale agreement for the below market rent market sales. So stay tuned on that. Once we know, we will be getting that out. We've been slowly but surely working with several different lenders and realtors at this point who have connected us with some contractors to kind of find some solutions for the people that are going to be looking to buy the market rate homes. And as soon as we solidify, some relationships with these folks, we'll be bringing them out to community meetings to kind of present their packages and see what seems to fit for people that are looking to buy one of the market rate scattered sites units, former Los Deltas units that need a lot of work. So it's not the kind of traditional buying opportunity. Normally you buy a place, they do an inspection and, the bank lends money and so on. But these need so much work, they'll never pass inspection. The bank will never make a loan unless there's some provisions made for doing the repairs. And so the bank has got a reasonable piece of collateral to lend money against. So keep watching on that. As we know more, we'll bring it back to the MAC. We're just about done with developing the RFP for the main campus. We hope to have it ready here in the next month or so. And at some point, we're going to start sharing it with some key partners in the development world so that they can, provide some professional input on the document, see if it addresses all the items we're looking to address as well. And then once we solidify all that, we'll be releasing that and getting word out to everybody. We'll be sure to bring it to the MAC, prior to the release, so you all get a heads up. And then anyone that got on a list to be notified, we're also going to be doing that, and keeping it localized initially, and then doing a broader marketing plan as well. I mentioned at the last meeting that we drafted up a questionnaire for community organizations who may be interested in partnering with the main campus developer that's selected. And if you're one of those groups potentially interested in partnering with whoever's selected, be sure to complete one of those surveys. They'll be shared with the selected developers so they can all get in touch. And, even if you want to do some small project on the main campus, it would be in partnership with that developer. So this is the opportunity to get in on the ground floor with that. Just a quick note on some upcoming meetings that are coming up. April 12th at 9 a.m. We're going to do a little community meeting at the Verde Elementary School, mainly in Spanish for the parents and the staff there. Talk a little about what the plan is to sell the market rate units. Nothing that we really haven't shared with the MAC or other meetings in the past. This is just kind of localized a little more to the Spanish speaking community, to give them kind of a one-on-one audience, if you will. Also, next week we will be having next Monday, I believe, we'll have another meeting with the 4 developers that were selected for the below market rate units to prepare for a community meeting that we have coming up at the senior center. That community meeting will be on April 16th at 4 p.m., where we're inviting the community to come and listen to presentations by the 4 developers awarded those 16 below market units for $1 or buildings for $1. And they'll be showcasing what plans they have for the rehab of those properties, and laying out a plan for how they plan to sell those units and market those units to any families interested in buying the units. So if anyone's interested in any of those properties, this is a good place to start in terms of engaging with those developers, and start, kind of letting them know your interest, getting on a contact list, because it'll be a while before they get the work all done. But if you don't do that, somebody else will, and you're gonna be elbowing for a position at that point. And that's it for now. I'm gonna put the meetings in the chat so that, if anybody, wants to do a screen print or, have it in the notes, that'd be great. That's all for me.
So our last report's gonna come from, Blue with the big back. Dennis, I'm a CHC associate, also I'm the community service coordinator for, mitigation. One of the things for CHDC, here at the Community Senior Family Community Center, CHDC held a ceremony in honor of Mother Moore, who is a longtime resident and member of the Gordon Weiser Group in North Richmond. CHDC collaborated with Chevron, built this beautiful garden that's outside. CHDC decided to honor Mother Moore, who is still active in the community at 102 years old. The garden is called Mother Moore Garden of Prayer. For mitigation, from January through March, we've seen the numbers go. My numbers have went down. My patrol log has went down about 38%. That's largely due to public services. The job is doing just addressing all the dumping that's out there. And there's trash, loose furniture. The two biggest culprits last month was loose trash and furniture. Normally furniture is a heavy dumping item at this time due to taxes. We've seen it all throughout the community of North Richmond and Richmond. Also, at this time, I have the North Richmond Green newsletter circulating throughout North Richmond, and also has attached to it the Earth Day flyer. North Richmond Green newsletter has a lot of resources available for residents here in North Richmond, as well as we have the Earth Day happening on April 20th. We'll have a lot of activities out there for kids, some pickup projects, some gardening projects done by Urban Tilt and Watershed Project, that's right. Watershed Project. So that event will be happening on April 20th. So that should be a great event to bring your families to enjoy. Also, just one little mention. Next month we have a Woody Spears cleanup coming up May 11th. So we invite you guys to definitely come out to those two events, participate. Also to participate in our monthly meetings that we have, those green meetings in task force. All right, thank you. Folks, we are adjourned. Thank you for your patience with us. It's a really packed meeting, so next time. Thank you.
Thank you.